Everyone, it's Hobby for March 2000. Today is November 25th, 2020, the day before Thanksgiving. And today the main focus of this video is obviously going to be the major storm that's expected to move along the eastern half of the United States and potentially bring major impacts all throughout the East Coast as well as the Midwest. So let's get right into it by first talking about the GFS model, which currently has a pretty strong low pressure system dropping down to 986 millibars, centered right around Pennsylvania, around 6 days from now. So obviously there's still a lot of time to iron this out. However, if we could go to the window of possibilities to what could happen, which is around the 120-hour mark, we see that the GFS is obviously taking a strengthening storm up the East Coast, and this is definitely going to be something to watch. And you see a lot of rain just to the north of it, and you also see a little bit of snow on the western half of this storm, right around Illinois and just south of Chicago. And there's going to be a lot of cold air on the backside of this. And what gives evidence to why this is strengthening is by looking at the temperatures during this time, which is right around Monday, November 30th. And you see that there's going to be a little bit of a negative tilt, because if you take a look at the pressure and the wind for on this map, you see the oranges and the reds represent the much warmer air, while the blues represent much lower pressure and also a lot more colder air. You sort of see that negative tilt right here, which represents that the cold air is coming from the back side of this and is trying to really interact and move into that much warmer and less dense air. And when we see that negative tilt, that usually means that there's going to be extremely bad weather and a rapidly intensifying storm, because when you see the northern side of a low pressure system is warmer than the southern side, that isn't at all supposed to happen. So the atmosphere tries to make up for this instability and for this this unstable air is to attempt to bring that cold air into the much less denser air, and that brings a lot more wind and convection and instability, and that rapidly intensifies this low pressure system. So it's becoming likely that we will see this going into Tuesday and Monday of next week, where we're going to see a strengthening storm move along the eastern half of the United States. And I could almost say with certainty that this will be a pretty strong storm, because both the main computer models, the European and the GFS model, have been agreeing that we will see a strengthening storm move up the eastern half of the US. But like I said in my last video, there's still a lot of uncertainties of what exact impacts we will see, how strong this will be. While we do believe this will be a strengthening storm, and quite strong at that, we're not really sure what its maximum potential in terms of strength will be, as it really all depends on how far south this polar jet moves through the United States, and how much does it interact with that weaker subtropical jet that's currently lingering over the southern United States at this point. So if we take a look at the factors that will eventually conceptualize this storm, we have a little bit of a low pressure system that's currently just right around Arizona, and it's as a result of a trough that moved just far south enough to interact with the subtropical jet and create a little bit of instability for the subtropical jet to work with, form a low pressure system. And at the same time, we also have a Clipper system that's moving further south, and these two systems, this low pressure right around Texas and this Clipper system right around the upper Great Lakes, will eventually interact and create a much stronger storm, with the millibar jet pressure dropping to 986 millibars. And if we take a look at the forecasted wind that will be associated with the storm based off of the GFS forecast, you're going to see that very strong winds are expected from this storm, because you see the greens, you see the reds just off the coast just off the East Coast. And you also see extremely windy conditions throughout the Midwest, extending to Indiana, Illinois, and Ohio. So this is in terms of knots, and the greens pretty much represent around 24 knot winds. And this seems to be sustained winds, so keep that in mind. So 24 knot winds, that's equivalent to around 30 mile per hour sustained winds. And I'll assume that the wind gusts will be much, much higher than that. And if we continue to move forward, the storm continues to strengthen and then brings a lot of winds, brings very strong winds over the Atlantic. And not only that, the winds extend for a very long time just off the East Coast. Now, that's worrying because when there's such a big fetch for this low pressure system to work with, that means that it will pile up a lot more water, and that could potentially bring some coastal flooding along New England coast. And then you see just off the coast of New England, you see the long extending line of winds in excess of 40 to 50 knots that extends for a very long time, pretty much from Bermuda all the way to the coast of Maine. And if this scenario happens, you see that there's just so much wind energy within such a large area. That means which is gonna inevitably cause very strong bring very huge waves and bring potentially a lot of storm surge along the coast. So this is definitely something you guys need to be watching all throughout the East Coast, because coastal flooding could be an issue if the storm stays just to the east enough and if it stays just powerful enough. And what also could be the worry is heavy rain. By taking a look at the rain and snowfall forecast for this, you see that as it continues to develop, it begins to interact with this clipper system that's moving through this dip in the jet stream. And as it does so, the rain expands and you see a pretty large swath of rain extending all the way from the Atlantic Ocean, extending all the way to the Midwest. So this large swath of rain usually means that this will be a long duration rain event for a lot of you guys, since it's going to take a while for a lot of the Northeast and the Midwest to get out of that huge band of rain. And you see that it becomes a little bit heavier as the storm continues to strengthen. And you see that eventually we see another burst of thunderstorm activity and rain activity again once the storm re-strengthens into a 985 millibar storm. And once that cold air really gets deep into the low pressure system to create very unstable air and to create a lot of convection, to create a lot of those thunderstorms. So that will be the worry when it comes to flooding for a lot of the Northeast, since there's just going to be a lot of thunderstorm activity that arises as a result of this low pressure system. And also the other elephant in the room is also the potential for snow. You see that there's based off of the GFS forecast, you see a pretty long and extending band of snow extending from Indiana all the way as far south as Alabama. So there's still a lot of hours to iron this forecast out. This snow swath you see right here could be either larger or almost non-existent in the later forecast runs. So we need to keep watching this, and the key will be pretty much how far south this cold front dips into the US and how far south does that jet stream dip. Because if it dips just far south enough, not only that, we're more likely to see a much stronger storm because of the more visible, the more noticeable instability. We're also going to see a higher chance of a snowstorm and potentially a blizzard throughout the Midwest, and even extending as far east as the Northeast, because that cold air will eventually change that rain into snow, and that instability will enhance that snowfall, and it'll be a much bigger problem if it's a snowstorm for a lot of the Northeast and the Midwest. So that's definitely something we need to keep in mind. And how could we predict how far south this jet stream could dip? Well, one way is looking at the Arctic oscillation, which pretty much is an index that measures a certain weather pattern that's weather pattern. When it's positive, there's less likely of a chance for the jet stream dip. However, when it's negative, the Arctic oscillation, that means we're more likely to see a jet stream dip since the westerly winds are weaker, the low pressure and the high pressure in the Atlantic are much weaker. So that means less lower level and upper level winds, which means which means much weaker westerly winds, to the point where there's more of a chance that cold air meanders and moves further south. And as you can see, I've been noticing that the trend has been leaning more towards a negative Arctic oscillation, and that's not good news because that means we're more likely to see a much bigger storm as a result of this and stronger instability. We have to see how this unfolds over the next several days because that'll be key in determining how strong this storm will be and how much snow you might get in the United States, really how much rain as well, because that instability will be huge in determining all those factors. So that's definitely something we need to watch. And what will determine how far south this cold front or jet stream goes, it will pretty much be all determined by how strong the high pressure is over Canada. Because if it's stronger and it moves further south, we're more likely to see that cold air move further south and interact with this subtropical jet that will strengthen the storm. However, if it moves further north and if it's weaker, then we're less likely to see that Clipper system move further south. And as a result, it will speed up to the point where there won't be that much of an interaction to make this a powerful storm. So we just have to wait and see in this scenario. However, let's say the GFS forecast model is correct in this scenario. In terms of how much snowfall could be predicted from a scenario like this, potentially around 3 to 5 inches could be possible right around the Midwest, and then much more than that along the Appalachian Mountain Range. It isn't a ton, it isn't a widespread snowfall event. However, I just want to convey to you guys the possibility that there could be a much bigger snowfall threat that could impact a lot more people if the conditions are right and this jet stream dips further down. At this point, we've been seeing more of the computer models trending a little bit more to the west with this, actually the east with this computer models, which may mean that there's more likely of a chance for the cold air to filter in and bring more of a snowstorm threat. However, we still need to wait and see what will happen next with this storm. And in terms of what's happening right now, you see that we had a very bad tornado happen in Arlington, Texas last night. My hearts go out to everyone there, and I hope you guys recover safely. However, the good news is that those thunderstorm bands have winded down, as there isn't as much instability for this storm to work with as expected, since this jet stream sort of straightened out to the point where there isn't going to be that much unstable air or thunderstorm activity from here on out. However, I will say that there's still a light chance of thunderstorm activity going into late tonight and early tomorrow, where we could see maybe an isolated severe thunderstorm, but for the most part, you guys should be good in the southeast. And in terms of rainfall, you guys will experience some rain over the northeast, and you see this little thunderstorm band form as a result of this instability right around Columbus. So keep in mind of heavier rain bands, although I don't expect this to be severe. If you're doing something outdoors, you may want to reconsider it, since heavy rain could move through your area tonight and into tomorrow, all throughout the northeast for your Thanksgiving day. And that's pretty much it for all we need to talk about in this this Thanksgiving weekend and going into next week. So I thank you guys for watching. I hope you guys have a great Thanksgiving. I hope you guys enjoy it with your families, your friends, by yourself, however you guys like to enjoy it. And I'm thankful for all of you and all you guys' support over these years. You guys motivate me to do this, which is why I love making videos like this every day. And I thank you guys just for all the support and all the views you've given me. And I hope we could continue, my crowd continues to get bigger. And I just want to thank you guys for leaving support for me and watching these videos, since you guys are the reason why I do this. But anyways, guys, I just hope you guys have a good Thanksgiving. I hope you guys have a good day.